Her secret of shame revealed tonight at 7:30.
And we had...
This is a congressional posse holding the names of those who bounced checks, some for 6 figures.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, reporting tonight from NBC News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. It turns out the congressional check bouncing scandal is worse than first reported. Much worse. Late today, the House committee investigating this scandal reported in, and the numbers are staggering. Almost 20,000 bounced checks. Now, the full House will decide whether to release the names. NBC's Andrea Mitchell is in Washington tonight. Andrea?
Tom, the Ethics Committee reported that 355 current and former members had overdrawn their accounts in the House bank and recommended that the 24 worst abusers be named.
I was rather shocked by the number of checks that were written and the size of the overdrafts in certain cases. As I said to some others, I don't know how some of these folks slept at night.
The 24 worst offenders include 5 former congressmen and 19 current members. All had bounced at least one check of at least $2,400 once a month for 8 months.
In numerous cases, there are several hundreds of bad checks. The face amounts are in the 6-figure range for many of these people.
I may say so. I don't mean it disrespectfully to my colleagues. I'm a little tired of them coming up to on the floor and saying, oh, gosh, they didn't tell me.
The committee criticized House Sergeant-at-Arms Jack Rust, who ran the bank, and had at least one overdraft of more than $10,000. Earlier this week, Rust said he was mugged, shot in the face by an assailant. Police described the circumstances as highly unusual.
The American people.
There was a call from dissenting members to release all the names immediately.
I don't think they think that we'll pass the smell test.
It will be up to the full House next week to decide whether to disclose the names, which most people think could be a political death sentence for those involved. Tom?
Andrea, isn't it likely that those members who are not guilty are going to insist that these names be disclosed?
Well, it cuts both ways. There could be some big names on that list, and there might be some effort by the leaders to cover that up. But the Republican leaders are now demanding full disclosure, and Democrats are telling me privately they think that the public pressure will mean they'll have to go along with it.
And Andrea, what about reform since this scandal was first disclosed?
They have shut down the House bank. That's probably the biggest reform. And they've taken other steps to try to reform some of other abuses in the House. They're also calling for the appointment of a House administrator.
Thank you very much, Andrea Mitchell in Washington tonight. And tonight, owners of IBM and IBM-compatible personal computers are like high-tech doctors. They're trying to defend against a coming epidemic, a computer virus called Michelangelo. As NBC's Robert Bazell tells us now, this deliberate act of computer sabotage is due to strike tomorrow. Robert?
Tom, estimates of the number of infected computers range from tens of thousands to millions. But even with the low estimates, it's a very serious problem. And McAfee Associates, a computer security company in California's Silicon Valley. Phone calls and faxes were pouring in today.
People who have the virus, people who think they have the virus, or people who have some other virus.
At the principal financial group insurance company in Des Moines, computer workers found the virus.
The first hard disk partition table contains the strain of Michelangelo.
If the virus had gone off as planned, it would have destroyed a lot of the company's records.
Clients, companies' investments, our productivity here, it would take a lot of time to restore the information if we'd lost it.
Michelangelo even made its way into some computers in congressional offices. The virus is a tiny piece of information, some software, that spreads from computer to computer on disks. If a computer is infected with the Michelangelo virus, when the computer's internal calendar turns to March 6th, the birthday of Michelangelo, the program obliterates all the information on the computer's main storage system, its hard disk. There are more than 1,000 viruses, but Michelangelo is the most insidious yet. It was spread during manufacturing, so some companies unknowingly shipped out disks with new programs that were infected.
All we know that it is the most widely reported virus. It is really out there, and we're in for serious trouble tomorrow.
To avoid trouble tomorrow, computer users should either not use their computer at all or use a program by midnight tonight that searches for and destroys viruses. At this store in Atlanta and across the country today, a lot of customers came in looking for the antivirus software. Many stores have run out. Computer experts do not know who wrote the virus, but they know why.
It is an intellectual exercise to create something that will take on a life of its own and move from one machine to another throughout the world, almost like a living organism.
This is going to become more and more of a problem as we become more dependent on computers in our lives. But to combat this particular virus, people either should not use their computers at all tomorrow, or tonight set the calendar back so it doesn't reach March 6th. Tom?
Thank you, Robert. In Los Angeles, another well-known charge of crime is in the news tonight, alleged assault. The 4 Los Angeles police officers who appeared in that videotape of the Rodney King beating went on trial today. NBC's Diana Karicki.
Mobbed by reporters from as far away as Kenya, veteran Sergeant Stacy Kuhn was upbeat going into the trial.
I've waited so long for this day. It's finally come. It's hard to believe that it's here.
Attorney Michael Stone hinted at the defense view of Rodney King's beating.
It's the use of force to subdue a violent, resistant suspect. That's what it is.
Friends of King appeared, but he is not expected until he testifies.
Did willfully inflict great bodily injury or torture.
The prosecution, led by Terry White, will argue that the beating was racially inspired and that King feared for his life.
The evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that Mr. King was speeding, that he did not stop, that he acted silly, that he did not cooperate initially. The evidence is also going to show that the beating you are about to see on this videotape is unjustified.
Jurors saw the first of what will be many viewings of the videotaped beating and still photos of what the defense argues was King's lunge at one of the officers. Their claim that King was violent, resistant, and on drugs.
The conclusion of every officer who was there at the scene was that they had a duster on their hands, a person who was under the influence of phencyclidine, PCP, or angel dust.
Witness George Holliday, who shot the videotape, recalls having thought King looked drunk.
Well, why would you have said that?
The impression that I have of him not reacting to the blows.
No blacks sit on the 7-man, 5-woman jury, chosen from the conservative L.A. suburb of Simi Valley, where the trial is being held. Judge Stanley Weisberg will soon decide whether King's police record may be admitted as evidence. So far, the judge has only allowed defense to say that King was on parole when the beating occurred. Diana Karicki, NBC News, Los Angeles.
And still on the crime beat tonight, the trial that could break up a big piece of the mob continued today with a former underboss still on the witness stand, telling what he says are the dirtiest secrets of John Gotti, the man the law calls the Godfather. NBC's John Miller.
Is it possible that the lack of a warm winter coat may lead to the crumbling of John Gotti's mob empire? In the summer, Gotti would take these long walks with his underboss, Sammy the Bull Gravano, to discuss the secrets of the mob. But in the winter, Gotti came in from the cold. It was his big mistake. These talks took place in an apartment upstairs from Gotti's club. And when Sam Gravano heard tapes from the FBI's bugs in that apartment, he decided to talk. Sammy the Bull Gravano became the biggest mob informer ever. In Gotti's trial, Gravano told all about murders, the rackets, the rules of Cosa Nostra. Today, John Gotti's lawyers got their chance to try and take Gravano apart. Albert Krieger skipped the crime questions and went straight to, what do they call someone in your position? Gravano answered, an informer. Is there another name, asked Krieger? Gravano said, a rat. Krieger pounded away, asking Gravano why he turned on his friend and mentor. Krieger wanted Gravano to say he did it to save his own skin. Quoting now, didn't you tell the government, I will give you John Gotti's head on a platter, and you will give me my freedom? Gravano answered no. The court session was interrupted by a bomb scare. The building had to be emptied. Even prisoners were taken out for a walk. But neither side seemed worried.
I mean, why would I ask for a mistrial? Just because there was a bomb scare? No.
Rose Massa used to work as Gravano's secretary. Her brother, Mikey Batts, is one of the 19 people Gravano had murdered.
I just wanted to see somebody be held accountable and sitting in a court of law and hear him speaking in a courtroom setting to a judge, to the people in the jury, to people in the courtroom.
Throughout the day, defense lawyers were unable to rattle Gravano. Still, they have the rest of the week to keep on trying. John Miller, NBC News, New York.
When Nightly News continues in a moment, a new study on pain recommends a more generous use of painkillers.
I've got a 6 a.m. flight. I've got to get some Z's.
Nitol safely helps you fall asleep fast so you can get your Z's. Nitol or Maximum Strength Nitol.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
I use a shampoo for dandruff, but my scalp still itches like crazy.
You need new Scalpicin, the revolutionary scalp medicine for deep scalp itch, not ordinary dandruff. Scalpicin is not a shampoo. It's a clear liquid you don't wash away like shampoo. Apply Scalpicin anytime for deep scalp itch relief with medicine chosen by doctors over all these dandruff shampoo formulas. Scalpicin penetrates to relieve the itch and help prevent flaking.
The itch is gone.
New Scalpicin, the scalp medicine for deep scalp itch.
If your doctor has recommended Metamucil and you like the results, but you don't like those glasses of thick liquid, change to FiberCon. Get the same fiber action in easy-to-swallow tablets. Get doctor-recommended FiberCon.
With no money and few prospects, Nebraska Senator Bob Kerrey today pulled out of the Democratic race for president. Of the dozen contests so far, Kerrey has won only South Dakota, but today he took it with a smile.
After Tuesday, I feel a little like the Jamaican bobsled team. At the end of the campaign, we were ready to go full throttle, but unfortunately we ran out of gas. While we have plenty of potential and plenty of enthusiasm, unfortunately we do not have plenty of money.
Jerry Brown doesn't have much money either, but he still is very much in this race. In his third run for the White House now, the former California governor is living off the land as he runs this time as the outsider.
Are you sure we're in the right place?
For the moment, Jerry Brown is in the right place. A low-budget, give-em-hell anti-Washington crusade aimed at this year's angry voters.
The tax code in this country is what I call a banquet feast of corruption.
And we're going to fight to make this stagnant, corrupt, unresponsive, decrepit leadership move aside.
I want you to raise your hands if you have never given $1,000 to an American politician ever in your lifetime.
Is this reborn anti-politician the same Jerry Brown who raised tens of millions of dollars for California's Democratic Party, the former two-term governor, member of a political family, this man an outsider?
Even to say outsider in reference to somebody who's been governor for 8 years, whose father was governor, whose sister is the elected treasurer, I'm not an outsider in the sense of of who I've been and who I am, but rather my commitment is to the unrepresented.
Ironically, this protest candidate brags about his years in office.
I've come with experience. Most of you know I was the governor in California after Reagan.
After wandering the world on a spiritual quest, Brown is back, now flying charter planes, but still outspent 3-1 by Bill Clinton and Paul Tsongas, hammering the competition for taking $1,000 checks.
They have allowed themselves to be trapped and in some cases corrupted by the powerful forces of greed.
In campaign debates, he's like a TV preacher, soliciting money through his 800 number at every chance.
Let them join this campaign through the number 1-800-426.
Jerry Brown hopes to hold his shoestring campaign together through the primary's grand finale this June, and that's in Brown's home state of California, which could leave him with real leverage going into the Democratic convention if he does well there. One of the hot-button issues for all the candidates this year is welfare reform, and a report today says there are more than 13 million Americans now on welfare. That's 2 million more than when this recession began.
In Japan, they buy a remarkable new car that comes with 7,041 miles already on it. The Honda Accord from Marysville, Ohio, the best-selling American-made car in Japan.
From the frigid North Atlantic to the treacherous waters off New Zealand, from oceans all over the world comes Red Lobster's World of Lobster. Now succulent rock lobster, petite deep-sea lobster, sweet Maine lobster, in delicious combinations and at special prices you'll think the world of. Hurry in now, because this spectacular event ends soon. Red Lobster's World of Lobster.
4 days only. All Craftsman tools, all Craftsman lawn and garden equipment, and every gallon of Easy Living paint are on sale. Save 10 to 30%, but hurry, it all ends Saturday at Sears.
Sure, plums are wonderful, but did you know ounce for ounce you get more vitamins and minerals after plums become prunes?
Sweet, delicious California prunes. Find out how good they really are.
Our daily difference now, Decision 92. There is no matter more urgent to American voters than reviving this nation's economy. Bill Clinton's remedy? More taxes for the rich, fewer taxes for everyone else. And that's just for starters. NBC's chief financial correspondent Mike Jensen tonight takes a closer look.
Bill Clinton in Savannah getting ready to preach his economic gospel, tax cuts for the middle class. He tells it one-on-one to commuters in suburban Maryland, to crowds like this one at Georgetown University.
The average working family's tax will go down about 10%, a savings of about $350 a year. And I won't finance it with increasing the deficit. Instead, we will ask those earning over $200,000 a year to pay some more.
Economists say that wins votes, but doesn't really help the economy. Those same economists give Clinton high grades for much of the rest of his economic program. Things like a 50% cut in the capital gains tax for long-term investments in new businesses that create jobs in America. More government research money for development of new products instead of military equipment. Defense spending to be reduced by 36% over the next 5 years. But Clinton also offers a slew of expensive goodies for almost every voting group.
I want to spend more money on people, on education and training and child care. I'm tired of people being told they're too rich to get college aid. I think I've got a record second to none in helping farmers. We're going to have to provide a basic, fundamental health care package to all Americans.
Clinton is quite specific about his spending programs, but the funding is something else.
Where is the money going to come from for many of the things that you talk about in your economic program?
Well, first of all, if you look at the way we did raise taxes in Arkansas, I think that's the way the American people want them raised. If we raised taxes, we dedicated the taxes and we paid for an investment in the future so the people got their money's worth.
As governor of Arkansas, Clinton raised taxes on gasoline and cigarettes and presided over a general sales tax increase. Now he's promising to cut taxes and use money from the defense budget.
But by the 5th year of my defense cuts, we'll have a $90 billion a year peace dividend.
A lot of analysts say that big a cut is unlikely, and even if the entire defense budget were eliminated, it would just about cover the annual budget deficit. But Clinton says it can all be worked out, and that someone has to start looking out for the middle class. Mike Jensen, NBC News, Macon, Georgia.
And when Nightly News continues in a moment, a government call for more painkillers for patients who undergo surgery in this country.
To protect the lives of firefighters, DuPont developed a remarkable fire-resistant fiber for their clothing called Nomex. But perhaps even more remarkable is how it protects those who never even wear it. At DuPont, we make the things that make a difference.
Can you guess which man used to have gray hair? Two of these men were never gray, but one was mostly gray just minutes ago. Can you tell who blended away his gray with Just for Men, the leader in men's hair coloring? Simply apply and in 5 minutes rinse for a natural look that won't fade or wash out. But who used Just for Men?
I did. And what a difference in just 5 minutes.
Just for Men brings back the look of your own natural color.
Have you tried Folgers coffee singles?
One coffee
in its own filter.
Singular sensation, every single cup you brew.
It's like brewing a whole pot.
One
cup at a time.
Singular sensation, fresh brewed morning good.
There's ground roast in here.
In its own filter.
Folgers, singular sensation, just for one.
Folgers
coffee singles. One sensational way to wake up.
Polyshades by Minwax. It's a stroke of genius. Polyshades is rich stain and polyurethane protection in one. Polyshades gives wood a beautiful protective finish in half the time. Polyshades by Minwax.
Rebate. Now's the best time to buy built-to-last appliances from Frigidaire because you'll find rock-solid rebates on refrigerators, washers, ranges, and more. So why not hop on over to your Frigidaire dealer and pick up something new for your pet?
Every year, more than 23 million surgeries are performed in this country, and today a panel of government experts said many doctors fail to prescribe enough painkillers. More on that tonight from NBC's Robert Hager.
Just 12 hours after Laura Hitchcock's recent radical surgery on her sinuses, her doctor abruptly reduced the dose of painkiller.
I was in excruciating pain. When I next saw him, when I could get him back, and my husband could get him back, and we said, look, this isn't working, I need more, he was very, what's the word, reluctant to prescribe anything stronger.
Today, the federal government said in a report that about half of all surgery patients suffer needlessly because doctors and hospitals don't pay enough attention to painkiller.
Health Secretary Louis Sullivan talked about myths, that pain builds character. Myth, he said, that infants don't feel pain. Another myth. That elderly patients have a higher tolerance for pain, or that painkillers are addictive. All myths. A government task force said the risk of becoming addicted from a hospital stay is minuscule, 1 in 2,500. And the task force recommended that Demerol, which is used most often now, be replaced by morphine, which is stronger.
The young man, the little boy who's expected to grit his teeth and bear it. The woman who complains and is thought to be neurotic because she's complaining of her pain. And those are the sorts of attitudes that are not useful in increasing the healing process and helping patients get better faster.
Also noted increased use of devices through which patients themselves control the release of painkiller into their systems. The panel said painkillers that work can get patients up and about faster after surgery and speed healing. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
John Chancellor is here with his commentary now, talking about American politics, British politics, and something in the Middle East. John.
Tom, here is this week's quiz. Name 2 national leaders who are losing popularity and who face an election during an economic slump. The answer, George Bush and John Major, the British Prime Minister. Our election is in November. Theirs could come as early as next month. Approval ratings are down for both men. The economy is in trouble in both countries. Major's predecessor, Margaret Thatcher, has been saying rude things about him, and Ronald Reagan has been more or less snubbing George Bush. And this week, both Bush and Major are being forced to think about Saddam Hussein, the famous butcher of Baghdad. He is refusing to let the UN destroy his weapons of mass destruction, which is clear defiance of the Gulf War ceasefire agreement. The United Nations could destroy Iraq's weapons facilities in air attacks. The British government says it isn't ruling out force. The American government is warning Iraq of serious consequences. There are 2 American aircraft carriers in the Persian Gulf. A British-American airstrike authorized by the UN is a possibility. But an airstrike could become a political liability for the president and the prime minister. Voters might see it as an election year stunt, a diversion from a bleak economic situation. Reopening the war, even from the air, even with UN approval, might be politically risky. On the other hand, something needs to be done to make Saddam Hussein keep his word. Nobody knows what's going to happen, and the clock is ticking. Tom?
Thank you, John. On Wall Street today, stocks fell sharply again in heavy trading today.
Paradise surrounds me. There's no place like this on land. All my cares, they're behind me. The world's in my command.
One cruise line has been named best in passenger satisfaction 10 years in a row. Royal Caribbean, the grand resorts of the 7 seas.
I saw my doctor because the pain was so bad. I was afraid I needed surgery for my hemorrhoids. I was itching. The burning was awful. But my doctor said my hemorrhoids weren't serious. I didn't need surgery. He told me it was time I started using Preparation H.
Preparation H helps shrink swelling of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissues and often brings relief from pain, itching, and burning for hours.
What a difference Preparation H makes.
Doctor recommended Preparation H.
You're going to grill it so you can hear it, so you can see it, so you can smell it. It's going to be like the best thing you ever ate in your life. Wait! It's not done. Now it's done.
A1. It's how burgers are done.
Call me a trendsetter, but I was eating wheat thins before people knew why they were baked and not fried. Now everybody knows who needs a greasy chip, right? Besides, wheat thins are delicious. Delicious is still in, isn't it?
You know, California prunes aren't just great snacks. They're good with breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert. Why, the possibilities are endless.
Sweet, delicious California prunes. Find out how good they really are.
Don't get hit by an annual fee. Carry the card that doesn't charge one. And keep yourself out of the hole. It pays to discover.
Assignment Earth tonight. One of the most successful wildlife movements in recent years has been the ban on ivory to discourage the poaching of elephants. South Africa and other African nations proposed lifting that ban to help the elephant herds. NBC's Charles McLean explains from South Africa.
Miniature carved ivory sculptures on sale today, legally in Johannesburg. Ivory taken from surplus elephants culled from South Africa's carefully managed herds. For sale in South Africa, but not for export. Illegal ivory, confiscated last night by Japanese authorities. The second largest ivory bust ever, over 800 pounds of elephant tusks smuggled out of Africa. Despite the ban on the ivory trade, demand remains high. Delegates to the latest Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species meeting in Japan this week will be discussing whether to maintain their ban on international trade of elephant products. Under current regulations, African elephants get the group's highest level of protection. But South Africa and 5 neighboring countries want the Endangered Species Conference to reclassify their elephants, allowing limited trade. They say lifting the ban on ivory would actually save elephants' lives.
Because if we are able to market the products from our culling operations, then we would be able to plow that money back into increased policing of the game reserves, and therefore, in fact, cut down on the poaching.
But not all African conservationists are ready to lift the ivory ban. More than 2 years ago, the government of Kenya burned 12 tons of elephant tusks to demonstrate its opposition to the ivory trade. Both those who want the ivory ban lifted and those who want it retained share a commitment to the survival of the African elephant. The question now is whether conservation must be made to pay for itself, with the elephant bartering his tusks for his survival. Charles McLean, NBC News, Johannesburg.
And tonight there is an unconfirmed newspaper report out of Tokyo that South Africa and the other nations have now withdrawn their request to overturn that ivory ban. That's Nightly News for this Thursday. I'll be working along the Super Tuesday campaign trail tomorrow. Margaret Larson will be here tomorrow night. I'll see you again on Monday.